I don't know if you know Jada Pinkett Smith, Will Smith's wife, and pretty much there's this new controversy because one day they have kids and the kids were arguing, and then she gave the kids like psychedelics, and then apparently they stopped arguing, and then the news is that I'm in I feel so happy, I actually love my brother.
Yeah.
So that was the situation. And it's a controversial because, it's a parent giving psychedelics to their kids. Anyways, so I'm curious as to your perspective on this story. What do you think?
I haven't heard that story, but I don't read, and I actually have family members in the business, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't read anything about that. I don't know about that, but I will say that when it comes to psychedelics, and this is my feeling about psychedelics, if you want to use it like ayahuasca, if you want to use ayahuasca to expand your consciousness, as they say, and you want to use it once and see how it goes, that's really up to you. But personally, breath work, if you go to a really good breath work person or find a really good breath work, I actually did one today, a really great breath work session. I mean,
Hmm.
you go to the same place, but the thing about that is you haven't used a drug, you've used your own consciousness. And on top of that, it never leaves you. So once you've been able to access it, you'll always be able to access it easier and easier. And that's a
Do you
proven
mind
fact.
demonstrating? Do you mind demonstrating one method that maybe we
Oh,
can
breath
learn?
work? Well,
That'd be
you have
so
to do
cool.
it
Yeah,
for
no, I feel
you
like
have
that
to
would
do
be.
it you have to do it for a while, but one way to do breath work. Now, Wim Hof, I don't know if you know who he is.
Mm-hmm.
He's famous for breath work. Now, he'll do, you go, you're breathing through your stomach, but you're going out fast and you're doing it like 20 times. And then you hold your breath for like a minute. Now, the one that I did today, it's you breathe through your stomach and then you bring it up to your chest and then you blow out. So it's a 3-part: stomach, chest, blow out, stomach, chest, blow out. But I'll give you something that you can do right now. And I'll ask you to put your hand on your heart and I want you both to close your eyes and just take a couple deep breaths in. Just go take a breath in, hold it for just 2 seconds, and then let it go. Take another breath in, hold it for 2 seconds, and let it go. And now take one more breath in, hold it for 2 seconds, and let it go. And now open your eyes. How do you feel? Feels
I
pretty
I
see.
feel like
feels
good in
pretty
a way.
I
nice.
see more.
Mm-hmm.
No,
It feels
you
a bit
it
brighter.
yeah, it feels so much nicer. The other technique that if you have a lot going on and your brain gets you just got so much going on in your brain and you want to think
Yeah.
clearly, there is a technique that the samurais used to use prior to going into battle, that they knew that all their thoughts and emotions would be up in their heads, and it would make them top heavy. And that's what happens when
Mm-hmm.
we have so much going on. We're top heavy, we can't be centered. And so they knew that they had to move all these emotions down to 2 inches below their navel, which is their hara point. And then they would be centered and harder to knock off their horse. So if you're game, we'll do that one, and that's only 90 seconds. And everybody in your audience,
Let's do it.
if somebody's driving, don't do this. But I just have to say that, don't do this if you're driving, but you can listen to it and you can try it after. So I'm going to ask you both now, once again, to close your eyes and take a deep breath in and exhale again. And now take another deep breath in and exhale again. And now feel all the emotions and all the thoughts going through your mind. And your emotions in your head, bring them all together in the center of your head. And now I want you to bring them down, down, down. We're going to go 2 inches below your navel, down, down, down. And all those thoughts and emotions are going down. They're just flowing down to 2 inches below your navel. Let them just flow. And now from that point, see a bright light. And see that bright light go down your legs to the ground, to the center of the earth. And feel all those thoughts and emotions just flow down your legs to the ground, to the center of the earth. And now you can open your eyes.
Okay. I feel lighter, and I actually felt something go through my legs. That's creepy.
It's called I call it an emotional resilience reset. So like even if someone's going home and they've had a hectic day and they're going to go in and see their kids or their wife or girlfriend or whoever, it's great to sit in the car and do that really quick before you go in. Or if you have a big meeting, to do it prior to going into any big meeting, it will help you think clearer. You'll have the emotional intelligence that you need to listen, hear, and speak whatever you need to do.
I'm relaxing now.
Yeah. This is great. How did you discover this, Janet?
You know, I've studied a lot of different techniques. Probably I've tried at least 30 different techniques, and I'm certified in probably 14. And so NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, is one. And it has a lot of great what I call emotional resilience tools in it that I give to my entrepreneurs and, CEOs. I give it to actually every client that comes. If they need it, I arm everybody with it. There's theta healing, there's EMDR, there's hypnosis. I have so many different tools that I use. And so along the way, I've been able to create different things.
Wow. What's your thoughts on guided meditation versus just meditating on your own?
I like both because I do guided meditations too. I mean, the breath work I did today, that was guided, and it's somewhat of a meditation, even though you're doing the breath work. So I really like both because there's some really great guided meditations out there. I have to say that. But I also, every morning I do my prayers, and then I do Qigong, 7-minute Qigong. And then I sit down to Tibetan bell music, and I just sit and listen to it. And I go in and do my own meditation for 30 minutes with that. So I'm kind of open to both, and just see where it takes you. If it's easier for you to get into meditation by doing a guided one first, then do that. They even have meditations now where if you're not used to having your eyes closed, that you get to watch. So just find a way to release, because it's really, really important for your self growth, for your level of subconscious and conscious mind and expansion to meditate. It really is to give your brain a break.
It sounds like you really explored the Eastern styles of meditation and like self-help. What made you drift away from the Western side?
Well, the Western still does neuro-linguistic programming. I think they still do that. And EMDR is something that therapists use too. It's for me, it was just natural. And most of even the Eastern is it's proven scientifically that it works, and spiritually. So I kind of walk that path between a little bit of science and a little bit of spirituality. I think they're combining, and I think society is becoming more and more open to that combination. And I think there's validity in everything. Although I will add, I go to a holistic Eastern medicine doctor. That's who I see for myself.
Wow. Even though you live in the US. Yeah, exactly.
Even though I live in the US, yes, and I actually have doctors in my family, but yes, I still do that. I believe that I want to
How
go the all natural way if I possibly can.
and how do the family reunions go? Like the conversations with the family. It's like
Actually,
if you're just like,
actually,
is there
that's
conflict?
interesting. That's interesting that you say that, because especially since you talked to me about going more Eastern, the more I made the movement to kind of go that way, where I see all religions have their validity and everything has its space, and
Yeah.
I leave everything open to everything, and I'm very open to what people believe. That is what did it for me, because I come from 8 generations of ministers, and that didn't sit well with my family. And so I don't go to, I'm not, I'm no longer, I mean, I don't think I've talked to any of my family members. I think my brother texted me the other day just because he found out one of my children had a baby, but pretty much my mother has not talked to me in 3.5, 4 years, because she told me I was too optimistic. And it was really based on my belief that I believe
Wait,
all religions are valid. And that's what happens sometimes when we do elevate in consciousness, when we make a paradigm shift, when we decide that, it's kind of like, if you think of consciousness as the sky, and you're an eagle, and we have a choice. If we're the eagle, we can stay in our territory, or we can go and explore as far as the sky or consciousness will take us. And I've decided to go as far as consciousness will take me. And my family has decided to stay in their area, and that's fine. This is their journey too, and we're all on our own journeys. And so I just know it's their programming. It's my mom's programming. This is how she grew up, and it's
Hmm.
how my siblings, and so it doesn't hurt me. I have a total understanding of it anymore.
hmm
And
but
so
you also
I
spoke
actually
about
love it.
y-
Sorry.
yeah, and you also spoke since you spoke about reprogramming. Do you think that maybe even past a certain age, like in the case for your family members, do you think they can be reprogrammed to maybe think more like you and be more optimistic?
They could if they were open to it. And that's the thing.
Hmm
It's it's being deciding to actually examine. For me, my journey was I had to examine, okay, do I believe in this religious faith because do I believe in it because it's been passed down to me, or do I believe in it because I believe in it?
Hmm.
And so I had to really go through that journey. And it took me through several years, because it was dissecting different parts of what I had believed, because it was so steeped in me. I mean, I was a minister's kid. So it was really, really steeped in me. So I really had to decide what was real to me and what wasn't. And it's not that I don't find validity in that faith. It's just that I find validity in all faiths. I find validity in, how can I say that one person's belief is going to be different, is more important than somebody else's? I can't say that. And I can't say that who's going to be, you know, if we're talking about heaven as they would,
Hmm.
who's going to be in heaven and who's not going to be in heaven. I
Hmm.
believe, for me, I believe that God's a loving God, and like no one will be left behind, so this is just me. And so that that was hard. So when you talk about age of programming, you have to be open to it. And if their conviction is so strong, if someone's conviction is that strong, then it's pretty difficult. But I do know of a 96-year-old woman who, I think when she was 90, she started listening to Sadhguru.
Mm-hmm.
And she was pretty religious. She was Christian. She was Orthodox Christian, and she listened to Sadhguru and she loved him. And she said he has a lot to say that if people would listen, would change the world. And so it had changed her programming. Now, it doesn't mean that she doesn't believe in her Orthodox faith, but it means that it opened the door for her to see more expansiveness, to see more was out there. And she was 90 when she was listening to it, and she just passed away in March, and she was going to be 97 in June. So, I mean, pretty impressive.
Wow.
Pretty
That's an
impressive.
impressive
That
age.
is impressive. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she
That
was
she
a
went
hot
through
ticket.
that
She was
journey.
a hot ticket. She was my kid's grandmother. She was a yaya. She was Greek. She was Greek, and she was wonderful. Truly a wonderful person.
Janet, I want to ask you about like mental health in general. We live in a world, everyone's anxious, everyone's depressed. Not everyone. Many people are. All my friends have ADHD for some reason. Okay. I'm right here. I got my DSM right here. Look at that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. What do you think about it?
About everybody being ADHD?
Yeah, everyone being ADHD, and then some of my friends also have autism and stuff, and depressed and anxiety. You're laughing, but it's a serious topic.
I
I'm not
think
laughing about the depression. I'm just laughing at the ADHD part because
It's true, isn't it?
it is.
Don't say it's not true.
No,
All
no,
my
it is.
friends,
You're referring. Yeah, I'm one of
and
them.
then
I'm
they're
one
on
of
the pills. They're on
I,
the
I
pills.
I often wonder if ADHD is a product a little bit of our society, of how we move our kids so fast. I'm not sure, because there's an increase of it. Because
Mhm.
both of you are younger than I am, and I think that I can only speak for my children. And as my children, got older, or when they went through, I mean, I played out in the prairies in the street. My kids had organized programming for them. And that's how it was. I mean, that's what I call it.
Ah.
Organize. I mean, at 5 years old,
Mhm.
you're going to organize soccer. I mean, it ended up being a rat race.
Mhm.
And if you don't do it, then your kids are left behind. If you do it, then your kids, it's like a whole catch-22. And so it ends up being, I think that some of society can do that. I also think we're hyper vigilant and or overzealous, my opinion is, in diagnosing things. And
Mhm.
we always want to put a name on something if somebody has a little something, or we want to say it's something. But as far as depression and all of that goes, I think that is very real. And I think that that is also a product of society. I think it's a product of some of the programming, and the young children who are committing suicide because they don't fit in, or even the young TikTokers that I've just heard. I haven't read a lot about, but it seems that the pressure of how they have to look, how they have to be, all of that can be really daunting on a young person. And so,
Mhm.
I think for me, I didn't have that. I didn't grow up with, I mean, we had 3 channels, okay? 3 channels on the television.
Right.
It was
yeah.
black and white. So we didn't have all of this. And so now with all this technology, and I'm a bubby. Okay, so I'm a grandmother. And I look at that and I'm like, I literally said to my daughter, I said, please don't give it any gadgets. Please don't give it, please let it
Mhm.
try to let him grow up a little naturally. And and I think that has a lot to do with what's happening with depression and everything that's going on. There's such pressure put on our young people by society. And even, I have a son that's in the financial industry. And I mean, I
Mhm.
look at even the pressure on how hard he works, like the hours he puts in, crazy, 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 crazy. And that could cause somebody depression in its own right. And so I have to kind of say this is society, and I would hope that we have better ways of helping our young people and people in general that have it,
Hmm.
and give them the tools so that they can at least reprogram their mind a little bit.
I mean, if society is making you depressed, instead of reprogramming us, why don't we just reprogram society so it doesn't make us depressed?
Well, that's a whole nother topic. But I do have to say, I think we're starting to end up to evolve more and more towards that. I think you're going to start seeing, from the other part that I listen to, I think we're going to start seeing how there's going to be a split. I don't know if you listen to somebody like Greg Braden,
No.
or Bruce Lipton or any of them, and they're talking about that. Greg Braden's pretty well known in this kind of
Mm-hmm.
area, and not in the mental illness, but in how there's a huge shift in society that's going to happen, and it's going to happen before 2030. About how there's going to be some sort of conflict of how we see the news and all of that, and I think that society is going to shift to not having so much of that because of the effect that it's had on individuals in a general state.
Wow. Could you please like expand on that a bit more? So, what do you mean about? So, what other option do we have than the news? Yeah.
Well, if you think about the news, there's only 6 companies that own the news
Mm-hmm.
channels. So that means that whatever's serving them, you're going to hear.
Mm-hmm.
So I think more and more people are going away from that. And I think there'll be other uh, avenues of news popping up that we'll all have access to.
I see. So
And
more like decentralization, right? Is a bit of the
yes,
answer.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
people having their own communities, making their own choices on how they want to live their lives.
yeah. I think it's going to become more and more. I mean, there's more and more people that are talking about what we're talking about today. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
this was never talked
Yeah.
about. Even probably 5 years ago, it was barely talked about. And yet we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about it now. And so we're evolving. We're evolving at a very rapid rate. And so that's a
That is
beautiful
very true.
thing. I'm going to say that's a beautiful thing.
And you're
And
optimistic about the future.
absolutely.
You're,
I think some
mm-hmm.
people can look at it in a negative viewpoint, but that's only because fear's been put in us. The more that we can all look at this as an opportunity for us to expand as a human consciousness, a human based concern for one another, and see that what I do to someone, I do to myself, and really have an understanding, we're going to expand. And there's more and more people that are feeling this, thinking this, and there's lesser and lesser people. People are turning off from the news. And I say this because I just went to a workshop with 350 people, and all of them were saying the same thing. So,
Oof. And what's
so
the
this is
alternative choice to using the
this is
news? Like, how are people
well.
getting informed?
I'll say this: there's different ways of news. So people aren't just buying
Mm-hmm.
into this news. They might be reading bits and pieces. Like I read bits and pieces. I also read European news.
Mm-hmm.
I read Eastern news. I read all different types of news to see where the news is coming
Mm-hmm.
from. But it's also understanding that I think we're going to see uh, new different channels pop up. There'll be new ways and new forms coming up that people can tap into.
That's brilliant. Yeah, the more info that we can have, I feel is better for people, for society in general, because it just causes more, like a more open culture and a better approach and awareness to each other and to the to ourselves.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that. I agree with that. And this is one reason why when the pandemic first started, right before it, when there was a little talk, I literally ask my clients, don't listen to the news, read it, but don't listen to it, because I felt like there was so much anxiety that was kind of navigated through the channels, as I would say, that the frequency, and this is the other thing, we have to remember frequency is everything. And so depending on what the person is that's speaking on your television, that's the frequency you're going to take in. And that can give you anxiety. And I would say that to people: watch the shows that you're watching and ask yourself how you feel after you watch it. And if it doesn't make you feel good, I would tell you, don't watch that anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a
exactly.
hard one. That's a hard one. That was a hard one for me. That was a hard one for me for a little bit. But then once I got past it, I'm really good. I don't watch anything, especially at night. I don't watch any. I probably only watch maybe 1 hour of TV a day at the most. But I don't watch anything scary. I don't watch anything that has something that's not gonna sit right with me and make me fearful or make me have anxiety. If it makes me tighten up, can't watch it.
Janet,
I feel
I
sorry for
know.
one of my daughters. She's a writer, and I told her, if you put something out
Oh,
there
I
that's,
see.
I can't watch it.
Well, you gotta control the programming, right? That's what it is. It's like
Yeah.
these tools are like, okay, we're being programmed, but you can curate your algorithm, you can curate your feed to make it so that it nurtures you, as opposed
Yes.
to blocking you, and making you fearful. I get that aspect too. Janet, I want to ask you a question. I know you're trying to avoid the news, but I wanted to ask you another pop
That's
culture
okay.
question.
That's okay. Go ahead.
Concerning so Jonah Hill's in the news also recently too. About, I don't know if heard about this site. Jonah
No.
Hill's this big actor. Yeah, exactly. But it was something about he got in like a breakup with his girlfriend, and then she leaked some text messages, and it was about boundaries and emotional abuse. So I wanted to ask you about like boundaries. So I just want to show you the what got leaked. So this is what she spread. Okay. So pretty much this Jonah Hill, famous actor, he's dating a surfer chick.
Okay.
And this is the text that went like super viral. She labeled this as emotional abuse. I want to know what your thoughts on this are. And he
I gotta
says, plain
see.
and simple,
I
if
gotta
you
see
need
that because
surfing
I
with
don't have
men.
my. Can I go get my glasses? Because I can't read that.
Sounds good. I can also read it. Yeah, it's really short. Plain and
Okay.
simple. If you need surfing with men, boundaryless, inappropriate friendships with men, to model, to post pictures of yourself in a bathing suit, to post sexual pictures, friendships with women who are in unstable places, and from your wild recent past beyond getting a lunch or coffee or something respectful, I am not the right partner for you. If these things bring you to a place of happiness, I support it, and there will be no hard feelings. These are my boundaries for romantic partnership. My boundaries with you based on the ways these actions have hurt our trust. All right. And then she reposts this and says, see the misuse of the term boundaries. Okay. So on the topic of what you believe and boundaries and what are your thoughts on this kind of dynamic between a couple?
Well, personally, see, this is where I say that Instagram and all of that has taken it to a place that I believe isn't needed. I think this is something that she could stay on her own. But then again, the Me Too movement wouldn't have come out. I mean, I think the Me Too movement also ended up being exploited, if you know what I mean, through time. But at the same point, I mean, it missed its mark because on the other hand, it was blown out. But at the same point, because I'm all about Me Too, but unfortunately, people then took it a different way too. So it became kind of some people wanted to make it negative. But my feelings about this is that I personally think that if she had a problem with him, she should tell him personally. I've never been one for airing my laundry out there, unless he physically abused her. If he physically abused her, if he mentally abused her, if he abused her in any way, I'm all about it. And that's what I liked about Me Too, because we never could talk about what happened to us, because that happened to me when I was in a workplace, and I couldn't talk about it. And so I really liked Me Too for that. But if it's just something setting your boundaries, I wonder if you're better served just doing it privately. I don't know. I don't have the answer for that. But I do think, but I do have the answer that if you have boundaries, there's nothing wrong in telling somebody the boundaries. And then if the person doesn't like your boundaries, that's okay too. And to me, that's what she was saying. To me, what she was saying to him is, this is my boundaries. If you can go with my boundaries, that's okay. But if you can't, that's okay too. And I don't see there's anything wrong with telling somebody what your boundaries are. I just wonder if you could have done it a different way than putting it on that way. But,
Yes.
I mean, that's
100%.
all.
But we don't know. Yeah.
That's all I'm saying about that. But boundaries are good. And like I said, in the workplace, when I was in the workplace, I worked in a law firm, and when I was young, and a guy did something, and two times, two different people. And I wish the Me Too movement would have been around then, because I would have blown the whistle on those two guys. But it was at a time where women never said anything.
Yeah. This is during which time period would you say?
It was in the 80s. It was in the the 80s. No, it was, late 80s, maybe early 90s. And I mean, I was even, it's a long story, but at the same point, I wish I would have known, because I would have probably blown the whistle on both of them.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
No, 100%. Definitely not not
And
an
that's where
experience
Me
that
Too.
people would like to have.
Yeah, and that's where I think Me Too was amazing. I just think that some people kind of abused it, giving it a bad name or whatever. I mean, that's my experience, just from what I know. But in the most part, I'm all for Me Too. But I'm for it for men too. So I gotta have to put that out there. I'm for it for everybody. It's not just women; it's men too. Yeah, and
So
I say that because
what's for men? Would it be Me 3
I
or
have
Me
I have a
4?
son. Me Too. Well, I think Me Too is for men too. I think it should be for everyone who's ever been abused in that way, because I have a son too. And so I have two daughters and a son. And so for me, I'm all for it for the women, but I'm all for it for the men too, because there's men who have also been abused out there.
Yeah. No, that's very nice of you to think that way. Yeah.
Well, I have to say that because I mean, literally, if something happened to my son in that respect, I would be pretty upset, equally as upset as I would with my daughters.
100%.
Janet, as we're wrapping up on time here,
Yeah.
do you have any advice for like someone who's in their 20s but they're not sure about who they want to be, and they still have many questions about their life? Yeah.
Well, the first thing I'd ask them is, what do you like about yourself? I'd ask them the qualities that they like about themselves. I'd start off with the positive and say, what do you like about yourself? And we can build on that. And we can dismantle what's ever keeping you from what you like about yourself to expand to even a greater self of who you are now. So that's where I'd start. I'd start with the great things they like about themselves or love about themselves. And then we would then look at what's not working for them and change that.
Wow. And where can people find you if they want to learn more about your coaching and more about you?
Well, they can go to janetelaneschmidt.com. That's my website. It's my name. And there is if they go on there, there is a free consultation, 15-minute consultation that they can grab. That's on there. I can provide you guys with the URL through the email if you want, but they can go on there and they can see what it's all about. They can sign up for my newsletter. I send out usually a little blog. I think this week it's on what we talked about, which is thoughts become emotions, become beliefs, become convictions, or get confirmed and then become convictions. And I take them through the process so that they can really understand, so you can start dissecting your thoughts and emotions in that way. So it kind of takes you through a way that you can do it with every thought and emotion and belief that you have.
Perfect.
That
Well,
sounds
we'll
great.
see you there.
Yeah.
We did it. We got reprogrammed. Yeah.
Well, guys, you've been here with Janet Elaine Schmidt, reprogramming, mental health. She's got it all. All of the info is stored in that library of hers, in her mental library that's just been unlocked and shared with us. So if you guys enjoyed this podcast, please check it out and like, subscribe. This is how we end this.
We're